Hi, Samantha. Thanks for adapting and letting me give you information this way. I took some time and looked over the website that you can see here um, about this organization. So it makes a lot more sense now knowing that this organization is a essentially a recruiting center. So the good news is that you can be in a pool, which it seems like, and as at least this is what it seems to me, and I don't know if this was made differently clear to you. It seems like you'll interview and then you'll get put into a pool of teachers should they accept you and accept your um, uh, well, just should they give you the interview and should they accept you as being coming part of their pool. And then when organizations need help, either on a part-time or full-time basis, they call in and somebody from that pool is chosen. So at least that's what it seems like to me through this. So you would be interviewing for this company and being able to go out to different schools all around the Los Angeles area and fill in when you had time. What that does sound to me is like a great opportunity for somebody in your position. And I think that this would be a really cool opportunity in regards to being able to explore a lot of different learning environments to see which one suits your fancy without having to go through the entire process of like student teaching, and then you thought you only wanted to be in kindergarten, and then you did all of your student teaching in a kindergarten, and then you were never able to go into a third grade classroom, and you get into your job and you're like, I hate kindergarten. I wish I knew what third grade was like. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's also really great for the future to show that you have worked in multiple environments and that you are adaptable and capable of taking care of children of multiple age ranges. So I think that you can utilize that as a answer to some of the questions that they may be giving you. So as I'm reading in your your text to me and what you sorry and what you there we go, and what you said was that you just wanted some pointers on how to prepare for an interview. So um, let's talk about that. So what I wanted to do is the good news. Also, if you look on here, um, you can usually find at the bottom of any type of website, there's going to be like an about us, or there will be some kind of mission statement. And mission statements are always awesome because they allow you particular verbiage or the language to use that this organization already believes in. So let's pretend that you're not interviewing for them right now, but let's say you're interviewing at SMC for a job or something. I always encourage students that the first thing you do is you always print out the mission statement to that organization that you want to work in, and you look at that because it's going to tell you a lot about what they value and what they believe in and what their attitude is towards whatever they do. Businesses want to hear that you have the same values, beliefs, and attitudes as they do. So it's always good to incorporate those kind of buzzwords into different answers, or they will be probably asking you a question like, well, why would you want to be a part of career service? Why would you want to be part of our pool? Why would you want to work here? So for example, if it was like, why do I want to work at SMC? Well, there's a lot of different parts of the mission statement that I believe in and I agree with. And so you never want to talk about that you want the job for you. You instead want to talk about that you want the job to contribute to that vision or that belief, right? So it's like, I would love to contribute teaching in an environment with high diversity, one that creates lifelong learners, one which invests in the globalized experience for its students, because those buzzwords are things that they also agree in, so it makes that easy fit. So I encourage you to think about that when you when you look to this childcare careers. So in here, you can look at a couple of different things that they have, or these words that they believe in. They want to provide good teachers, this short-term, long-term assignments, etc. Um, the other thing that's down here, um, the hard part about finding them is about finding, like, well, what do they necessarily like believe in from this one. But on the pamphlet that you gave me, let's see. It talks about the idea of flexibility and I'm so sorry, let me just pull this one up. What? Okay, there we go. That some of the key things that you saw on the flyer that interested you were that, ugh, well, it's really hard in this case. They may not necessarily ask you about like why you want to work with them, but if you did want to work with them, there's a couple different things that I saw that I highlighted. First of all, I think it's awesome that they do offer full-time and part-time employee opportunities. And like I said before, you can always highlight the idea that you would love to have the opportunity to get in with a company that provides services not only part-time but full-time, so that in the event that you're going to school and you're working towards educating yourself in early childhood development, the opportunity still allows for you to continue your education whilst gaining experience within the education field. But beyond that, to have or to be employed by an organization that also provides long-term assignments, you see it as an excellent opportunity as well. And you could say something like to stay with them throughout your career, to have them as and to build relationships with the schools that they have partnered with in positive ways. So I think that those are some of the things that you can talk about. Other questions that are oftentimes asked in a job interview, and I'm going to just pull up a Word document here so that I can show you what I'm thinking about at the same time. The first question that you're going to get asked, and what people are always asked, is, so tell me a little bit about yourself. And that is a hard question for people to answer. So if I say, tell me about yourself, there is a format that is pretty easy. This is the same idea of what we call an elevator speech, and it's done oftentimes in business communication formats or any time that you're taking a business class. And the concept came up a long time ago when individuals realized that they don't have that much time to get out their ideas. So how can I talk? Because every job interview answer should only be between 45 seconds and 1 minute of time. So when somebody says, tell me about yourself, they don't want to hear about your entire life story, and they don't want to hear about anything, random or that you're really doing on weekends unless they ask you that question. So the standard format is something called the past, and then we have present, and that's the future. So the great news is that you already have your past. And you're like, what do you mean, Amanda? Well, I always say for students that what you need to do is start out with some kind of story from your past about how you got interested in this particular field. So the great news is that you have two reasons that have gotten you interested in this field. And the first was you taking a developmental psychology class. I don't know if I feel like that was what it was. Your child psychology? I think it was developmental psychology. So in taking that class and being inspired by the instructor for the potential of making change or difference in other people's lives. And the second was your nephew, who you have been able to not only see him be born, but be there for every landmark moment of his life thus far. And whilst experiencing that, being able to see his changes in his development and the way that he learns, and how that those two experiences coupled together have led you to the point where you are today. So that's your present, where you are studying. So and that those two experiences have led me to where I am today at Santa Monica College, and I am currently a blank year. I don't remember your year. And I am actively working towards a child development degree because I would like to, because, and you've said it so many times in our class of why you want that childhood development degree. So like synthesize that into like one or two sentences and say, so that is really what has brought me here to you today. I was presented with this pamphlet on the street, and I felt as if it like flew out of the sky because it was perfect for me in so many ways. What an excellent opportunity to start getting my feet wet and to start engaging with childhood development then through an excellent service center like yours. And that's the past, present, future. So it's always, and that's what brings me here today. And that's why I hope that I'm able to, serve and get you into the job. So it doesn't matter like what job it is, you can always use that. So like I had a student once who was going into sales, and we prepped his past, present, future by starting off saying, I've always been a salesperson. From the time I was 7 years old, my parents said that I was out on the street or 5 years old, something like that. My parents said I was out on the street every weekend selling whatever I could, whether it was a baked good or old leftover junk from our garage. My favorite thing was making sales and being able to create a commonality with friends. So whatever. The idea though is that you can always use that same past, present, future. So the past is always the thing that got you interested. The present is what you're doing now to work towards something. And then the future is how you see yourself with that organization. So feel free to tailor that idea. The other thing is that they're going to ask you about your best qualities. Now, I think that what this organization is looking for, like, well, tell us about some of your best qualities, or tell us about some of your best, characteristics or attributes. So I think that's something that's going to be really good for you to, and this will change for every interview that you do, because they don't have something that is a job posting. Because typically, if there is a job posting, so let's say that I even went to careers.com. If we're looking at any old job posting in the world, let's just see what it has to say here. Is that any type of job posting is going to, oh gosh, and of course this is going to be like, who knows? Never going to find anything. Let's see, but I say, oh, great, sales, can't wait. Okay, so for example, this is perfect. If I'm looking at the job description and the job functions, that is, again, going to give me ideas as to what I could say for my skill set. So this one, for example, we need somebody who's outgoing and excited, motivated self-starter, able to work independently with a team, and efficient and responsible. So when people ask you about your best qualities, guess what they're going to be? So I always say to tell these things in a three-point style as well. We can say something like, so for example, when somebody asks you about your best qualities, I always speak in threes, but that's just me. Some of your best qualities are that you are a motivated individual to get the job done. You are, and in this case, it would be that you are you are somebody who enjoys working with a team and creating an environment that stimulates creativity, but you can also work alone and be able to make decisions and on your own as well, something like that. So that like covers those areas, but so just keep that in mind for your future job applications. But for you, hold on, let's go back. And nope, this isn't it. Let's go back to that Word document. But for you, there we go. If we're talking about like the best, some good traits about you, what I would say is something that you are, mature, or that you have great time management, or that you are, I think I like the idea of a self-starter as well. And then also that you, hold on, so sorry. Wait 1 second. Just having flowers delivered, don't mind me. Okay. Let's see, what are the other things that we were looking at on there? And you can even say something like a respectful communicator. Funny that I'm spelling that wrong. Communicator. So these are all qualities that you can list, but they only become connected and make sense to an interviewer when you put them into context with what's going on in that environment. So like you can use the word mature in any environment, but like how does that relate to that job? So this is how the structure will go. It's like I am mature, and then you give a for example, and then you tie it back to that particular job. That is why I am good for you, your company. So if we were talking, for example, about time management, I would say another skill that I think would be a great addition, or another skill that would make me a great addition to your company is my effective time management. For example, and then you'll talk about how you manage your time well. And so you could say something like, do you make a schedule or a calendar all the time? For example, like, have you had a job before where you had to do multiple activities and being able to manage those was helpful? Were you even in like a group or an organization in high school of which you had to have good time management? But I say time management in the case of this organization. So the idea would be to then give an example of how you come up, that you are on time, that you are, because that's a good idea, that if you could say that punctuality is important to you because it is respectful of other people, something like that. But you would need your own example here. And you could say something like, and that is why I believe I would be a great asset to you because to be on time or to be punctual shows respect. There we go. Shows respect of other people and the work that they do. I know that your company depends on your company as well as my own reputation. So I would say I know that your company's and mine, your and mine. Oh well, I'm sorry. I'm trying to like think of this at the same time. I know that your company's there it goes. Reputation and mine depend on professionalism like this, and that is why I would be like this, and I can guarantee the same skill, professionalism like this, and I can guarantee that I will always, work and be on time. Something like that. Work to and be on time. So if you see, it's gone from Like the idea of like, so this is the skill, this is how I have it, and this is why I believe that it'll be good for you because of how I do that. So you can do that with each one. So if they want you to be a self-starter or something, that's an important skill maybe in the environment because they want people who can take initiative, knowing that you're going to have to go into multiple environments and that you may not be in the same classroom all the time. That means that these teachers are looking for assistance or that people are looking for help and they need somebody who to come in and do the work and to listen and get it the first time so that they don't have to have somebody to hold your hand and that they can just push you into the environment. All those things are really important. And so that is what a good self-starter would be. Somebody who sees what has to be done and simply does it. So if you could give an example about that and say, and I know that this skill would be good for your company because, or the teachers that you serve or the schools that you serve, because we are often coming in with a short amount of time and with little information. So you can say something like that. The same thing I thought of like in regards to respectful communicator is that you're going into different environments and people communicate in a myriad of different ways. So I think that it's imperative that you don't know necessarily who you're always going to be working with or working for. So the idea that that you are appreciative of the work that you're doing and that you keep a level head and that you, regardless of like what's happening, it's imperative to keep calm through your communication style. So that could be something that you talk about too. One thing that they may say to you is like, tell us about a weakness. And so a weakness, what does that mean? Well, don't let them trip you up by just asking about a weakness. I always say that to the people that I media train. It's like, so do you like mommy or daddy better? There's always a third option. And the idea behind weakness, don't say that you have a weakness, but also don't say a positive as a negative because people will call you out and say, well, that sounds like a positive thing. So what's a weakness? So instead of saying a weakness, say something that I'm continuously working on is. And so is there a skill in, the professional realm that you are, in fact, like working on? And we can use that. So, for example, I would never tell somebody to say you have poor communication skills, but if you're saying like, what is a weakness? You can say something like, I am working to better develop my public speaking skills. And so the way that works is like you can say that, why have you had challenges in the past with public speaking that, your nerves have gotten the best of you or that you have been, apprehensive about speaking in front of groups for professional situations, something like that. But I wouldn't necessarily say this again because if you're a teacher, they don't want somebody who's going to be apprehensive about speaking. But I say this because if you can say something like something that's been giving me challenges is, the ability to public speak, then you could say something like, currently I am taking a public speaking class where I'm gaining good practice weekly to develop that skill and to alleviate that communication apprehension because I know that public speaking is not only a quality that is seen in leaders, but the other thing that's really important to me is that when I do work in an environment that I am able to clearly communicate the message or the brand or the vision of that company in a positive light. So you probably don't want to use communication in this case. Know that you can always use it some other way if you do apply for a job that doesn't require like public speaking. But for you, try to think about something that you are always like working on or developing that's like a business skill, and that's how you can say it. So never use the word weakness back to them when they say that. Simply say, well, something that I'm continuously working on is. So you can do that. And then Other questions that are like regular questions in this way are oftentimes things like, well, tell me a time you showed leadership, or talk to us about how you would handle a conflict in the classroom, or tell us about a time that you a conflict and how did you handle it. So those are some ways that you can also prepare for these questions. Online, though, there are a million different sample questions that you can always get. And if you wanted to look, let's see if this pops up real quick. There we go. And I think that, let's see. I used to go, I'm trying to think of my old, I used to have an interviewing app that I would have students do for teachers. So this is the deal, is that there's only so many questions that people can ask all the time. Um, these questions here, if you were to be able to answer a good amount of those or prepare those, you can use them in a variety of ways. But what I always think that the best thing to do is to sit down and like I said, write down specific skill sets that you have, and also go through and think about examples that you can share that will help the interviewer see what that skill actually means. Because if I said like my best quality is are listening and that I'm punctual, and that's all I said, people would be like, okay, well, so is everybody else. Like the thing that makes you interesting and that makes you mature and seems like you're a clear communicator and an effective communicator and have prepared for this is when you have an example beyond that and you're able to connect those things for people. So this is a good one. What's the difference between a good teacher and an outstanding teacher? Those could be like questions that you could simply start thinking about. I'm not sure that this company is going to ask you for this much detail. I'm not so sure. But if you have at least a good amount of skills that you know, and then some good examples that you can go back to, and if you really do know that structure of like how to talk with the 3-point, like label it, give an example, and then show how it relates back to their organization, you should be really good to go. The only other two things that I wanted to mention is that they will oftentimes ask you, is there anything else you'd like to add? So if you have something amazing or you have something that happened in the interview where you wish you wouldn't have said it, or you wish you would have expanded upon it, or you hope it came across right, this is the opportunity to say something, not that earlier when I said I messed up, or earlier I didn't mean to say it like that, I hope you got it. We don't want to say anything like that, but what you can do is make clear what the skill or the belief or the value or the attitude is that you hoped to communicate in that time. So you could say something like, I would love to reiterate one more time my passion, my love for children, and then you could talk about, you could do that. The other last thing that I want to say is that they will also ask you something like, do you have any questions for us? Never talk about yourself in this case. So like we don't, and not like yourself, but this is an excellent opportunity to show that you are interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing you. Because if we say something like, well, when can I get a promotion? Or how long does it take me to get into a full-time position? Then it seems like you're more interested in this for like your own needs, which obviously they're a recruiting company, so they know that. But a good thing to do would be to say, talk about those questions that you actually do have about their company. Like, what are the different types of schools and the demographics that are typically, that would with my skill set of not having a credential yet, are going to be able to do? Like, what types of an environment would I be able to go into? If you could ask, like, could you tell me a positive experience that one of your employees has had? Could you tell me about, how many different schools an individual is traveling to within maybe even a year of working here? Or is there an opportunity, or not is there an opportunity, but you could say something like how many, um, oh, I don't know. Let's see what else we say. I know that they do also offer professional development through their organization, which is a good thing that you may want to bring up, because I, you know, you could also ask about that. I know that you offer professional development within your organization. Is there a specific time of year that those classes are offered, or that that is available? Because it at least shows that you want to continue learning. So there's a myriad of ways to do this, but I hope that these different tricks have helped you a bit, and that they can give you some ideas about where to go in this job interview. Ideally, your enthusiasm and excitement for children and utilizing your nephew as an example as well, or the different classes that you've taken at school, those are all going to be excellent things that you can talk about and refer to. But seeing the way that your face lights up and that way that you get excited about children and education is something that is going to be clearly communicated. So I encourage you to keep that same kind of level that when you talk to me about it with them, because it is very natural and it's very honest, and it is very clear that this is something that you want to do because you believe in it and you love these kids. So anyway, also go back to your first speech, because I think that's going to simply help you a lot as well. All right, I hope that this helped, and I will talk to you soon.